Imagine waking up to rain that has already been falling for 12 days. The ground is no longer ground. It is mud, cold, and deep enough to swallow your feet. The fire is fading. Your food is almost gone. The river beside your camp is rising, and somewhere beyond the gray wall of water, predators are still moving. Now, imagine you are alive 40,000 years ago. There are no waterproof jackets, no sealed houses, no weather forecast, no emergency rescue. If the rain continues, you cannot simply wait indoors. You must survive it. And somehow, ancient humans did. They survived violent storms, flooded valleys, freezing wet seasons, and periods when the climate shifted so quickly that familiar landscapes became almost unrecognizable. Their survival was not the result of one miraculous invention. It came from hundreds of small decisions repeated every day while the sky refused to clear. The first battle was fire. For ancient humans, fire was not comfort. It was life. It kept bodies warm, made tough food edible, frightened predators, dried clothing and hides, and gave people a place to gather in the darkness. But rain attacked fire from every direction. Wet wood would not burn. Damp grass could not hold a spark. A single careless moment could erase the only source of warmth a group possessed. So people learned to protect fire as if it were another member of the tribe, instead of starting from nothing every morning. They may have preserved glowing embers beneath ash or carried them inside dry bark, fungus, or bundles of plant material. A weak coal, almost invisible, could be brought back to life with patience and careful breath. In a world drowning in water, a tiny orange glow could decide who lived through the night. But keeping fire alive solved only one problem. The next was shelter. A cave may sound like the perfect answer, but caves could be dangerous. Some flooded, some trapped smoke. Others were already occupied by bears, hyenas, or large cats. So ancient groups had to read the landscape. They looked for rock overhangs above flood-level slopes where water could drain away, and places protected from wind. In open country, they could build temporary shelters using branches, animal hides, grasses, and bone. These shelters were not completely waterproof. They did not need to be. They only needed to slow the rain, protect the fire, and reduce the amount of heat the body lost. That difference could be enough, because cold rain can kill even when the air is not freezing. Wet skin loses heat quickly. Wet hides become heavy. Sleeping directly on soaked ground pulls warmth from the body through the night. Children, older adults, and anyone already weak from hunger faced the greatest danger. So people used layers. Dry grasses, leaves, bark, and animal skins could create barriers between the body and the earth. Raised sleeping areas made from branches may have helped in especially wet places. The goal was simple: stay off the cold ground and keep at least part of the body dry. Then came hunger. Rain erased tracks, scattered herds, flooded hunting paths, and made wooden tools harder to use. A hunter could leave camp at sunrise, spend hours searching, and return with nothing but wet clothing and exhausted legs. Large animals were valuable, but they were never guaranteed. This is where human flexibility became more powerful than strength. When hunting failed, people changed their diet. They dug for roots and tubers. They collected nuts, seeds, berries, insects, and edible plants. Near rivers and coastlines, fish and shellfish could become vital. Small animals trapped by rising water may have been easier to catch than large game. Ancient humans survived because they did not depend on a single plan. They watched what the environment was doing, then changed with it. And rain sometimes created opportunities. Floodwater could leave fish trapped in shallow pools. Saturated soil made some roots easier to dig. Storms could knock fruit and branches to the ground. Animals seeking higher, drier land might move along predictable routes. To an untrained eye, the flooded world looked empty to someone who understood it. The landscape was still speaking. That knowledge was carried by the oldest members of the group. They remembered which plants were safe where water collected, which caves flooded, and how animals behaved before major storms. Their memories were more valuable than weapons. Because in an unpredictable world, experience was a map, but endless rain brought an enemy that experience could not always see. Water contaminated by waste could spread illness. Food spoiled faster. Cuts became infected. Smoke from indoor fires damaged lungs and eyes. Parasites thrived in wet environments. Ancient humans did not understand bacteria, but they could recognize patterns. They learned that some water made people sick. They noticed that certain campsites were safer than others. They discovered that boiling, heating, drying, smoking, or cooking food could reduce danger, even if they did not know why. Survival knowledge was built from observation and often from loss. Every rule carried a story. Do not sleep there. Do not drink from that pool. Do not let the fire die. Move before the river rises. But even the best shelter, food, and fire could not protect ancient humans from the hardest part of endless rain, fear. Because after enough dark mornings, the greatest danger was no longer outside the shelter. It was inside the human mind. Fear can spread through a group faster than hunger. Imagine hearing nothing but rain for weeks. The sky never changes. The sun disappears. Every morning begins with another impossible decision. Stay in camp and risk starvation, or step into the storm and risk never returning. Modern psychologists know that prolonged uncertainty places enormous stress on the human brain. Anxiety grows. Hope fades. Decision-making becomes harder. Ancient humans felt those same emotions. The difference is that they couldn't afford to surrender. And that's where humanity's greatest advantage revealed itself. Not strength, not speed. Each other. Unlike most predators, humans survived by working as a team. While younger hunters searched for food, others gathered plants, repaired shelters, protected the fire, watched children, and cared for injured members of the group. Every person had a role. If one hunter returned empty-handed, another might find edible roots. If one shelter collapsed, everyone rebuilt it together. Knowledge was shared instead of hidden. Groups that cooperated survived more often than groups that didn't. Over thousands of generations, cooperation became one of humanity's greatest evolutionary strengths, and something remarkable happened because of it. The rain itself may have made us smarter. That sounds impossible. But many archaeologists believe environmental instability forced humans to become better problem solvers. Every storm demanded new ideas, better shelters, better clothing, smarter tools, safer campsites, improved ways to store food before bad weather arrived. Nature rewarded the people who adapted. Those who refused to change often disappeared. In other words, difficult weather didn't simply test human intelligence, it helped shape it. Then there's another mystery. Across the world, ancient cultures told stories about catastrophic floods. Mesopotamia preserved the story of Utnapishtim. Ancient India remembered Manu. Greek mythology spoke of Deucalion. The Hebrew Bible tells the story of Noah. Indigenous cultures across several continents also passed down legends of overwhelming floods that changed entire landscapes. Did one giant flood really cover the earth? Most geologists say no. There is no convincing scientific evidence for a single worldwide flood, exactly as every tradition describes. But that doesn't make these stories meaningless. Quite the opposite. As glaciers melted after the last ice age, sea levels rose by more than 120 meters over thousands of years. Coastlines disappeared. Rivers overflowed. Lakes burst through natural barriers. Entire communities watched familiar land vanish beneath water. Those events were unforgettable. Long before writing existed, survivors told their children what had happened. The details changed over generations, but the warning remained the same. Respect nature. Prepare before disaster arrives. Never assume tomorrow will look like today. Those flood legends became survival lessons disguised as stories. And perhaps the greatest lesson involved the youngest members of every tribe. Children were the future. During endless rain, adults could tolerate hunger longer. Children could not. Keeping them warm, fed, and safe became everyone's responsibility. Parents were never alone. Grandparents, older siblings, relatives, and trusted members of the community all helped raise the next generation. Scientists call this cooperative breeding, and many researchers believe it gave humans a huge survival advantage over other species, because protecting children meant protecting the future itself. Thousands of years later, that instinct still exists. When hurricanes strike, when floods floods destroy neighborhoods, when disasters force families to leave everything behind, people still open their doors to strangers. Neighbors still rescue neighbors. Communities still come together. Technology has transformed our lives. Human nature has not. The same instincts that helped ancient people survive weeks of endless rain continue to shape how we respond to crisis today. Perhaps that's the most extraordinary part of this story. Our ancestors never defeated nature. They learned to live with it. They accepted that storms would come, that rivers would rise, that the world could change without warning. Instead of trying to control everything, they became masters of adaptation. That lesson is just as powerful today as it was 40,000 years ago. Every generation faces storms. Sometimes they're made of rain. Sometimes they're made of loss, uncertainty, or fear. But history tells us something we often forget. Human beings are far more resilient than they realize. Our ancestors endured freezing nights, empty stomachs, flooded valleys, and endless skies without sunlight. They carried hope the same way they carried fire, protecting it carefully, refusing to let it die, even when everything around them was soaked by despair. The next time rain taps against your window, think about the people whose names we'll never know. People who stood beneath the same gray sky, who protected a single glowing ember, who shared their last meal with their family, who refused to give up when every day looked exactly like the one before it. They never knew your name. They never imagined the world you live in. But every choice they made, every storm they survived, every child they protected, echoed across thousands of generations until it reached this very moment. You are living proof that they succeeded, because humanity's greatest survival tool was never sharper weapons or stronger muscles. It was the simple decision to keep moving forward, even when the rain refused to stop.